Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
Cambridge and Sean is a Weirding Way Media podcast.
Well, here's to us.
Nobody does it better. Makes me feel sad for the rest. Nobody does it half as good as you. Baby, you're the best.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Cambridge and with Sean. This is Mark Begley, one of your hosts. Joining me as always is...
It's me.
It's me, Ronnie.
Sorry, I was anticipating. How am I going to do this?
I paused there indiscriminately for some reason.
And my nervousness just made me hop on it.
We're doing something. I mean, we're always doing something different. Well, I shouldn't say that. We've been doing a lot of different things, and this is no different than that. We're talking about a little adventure that Ronnie and I took last week. We actually hung out in person for the first time in
ages,
like at least 6 months, if not longer.
I think it might have been about a year.
A year.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. I know we met up and exchanged things a while back and kind of did the same thing this time, but also with an agenda in mind to hit some antique stores in our sister city of Clovis. So Fresno and Clovis butt up right against each other and are basically seen as one unit for the most part, although there are great differences between the two cities.
Substantial differences.
So we're going to talk about that adventure. But before we get to that, I have got, not updates, but related to last episode, you talked about Bert and Ernie.
Yes.
We got into the whole thing about the blind box deal with Super 7, the reaction blind box Sesame Street figures, and my frustration with trying to search for them, and you mentioned where to go. And so I did go.
Yes.
And found them. And got one, and I also got one of those Kid Robot plushes.
Oh, yeah.
The funny plush. They've got the Dunny and the money and the whatever. UNNY is their thing for some reason.
Hipsters.
There was an open box there, and I was tempted to feel in the bag, and I didn't for whatever reason, and I, rattled the boxes to see if I could suss out what was in them, and I didn't really care beyond not really wanting Cookie Monster, even the Chase figure. Just because it's, like you mentioned a while back, it's kind of a boring figure. But anyway, got home, opened it, and that was Bert as well. So I got two Berts that day. You had mentioned last episode, that you ordered another blind box, and if it was an Oscar the Grouch, it would be mine. And I went back.
Interesting.
Had to get some other stuff, but I went to that store specifically to do my shopping because I thought, well, maybe I will poke around that open one and see what it is. I didn't open it. It's been there both times I've gone.
That's so funny. Is that opened one has been there since I first stopped in there.
Right. So I felt it. And I think by that time you had already gotten yours and opened it, and it was a third Oscar the Grouch, a second green one, or a third green one. You've gotten 4 Oscars. Right? Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
I felt the bag, and it was an Oscar, and I'm like, I'm not going to chance it because you already got a chase, probably from this. I think they're restocking the box because it has the same amount in it every time I go, or the 2 times.
Either that or it's just you and me looking at it, and the one person that wanted to get some got a bunch already.
Well, no, because on your video, I saw how many were in there. And there were that many when I went the first time, and there were that many when I went the second time.
Interesting.
So they're restocking the box.
Interesting.
Unless they're like gremlins and they're replenishing themselves. I did the same thing, rattled the box, and thought, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And that was an Ernie. I'm done with the first wave. You gave me, we'll get to that in a minute, but those are pretty much the 2 figures I was hoping for. And then that, at the same time, I was going back and watching some old videos of some of the guys that I follow on YouTube, just because no one's got anything new.
Right.
And a weekly weirdo of yours popped up, and I'm like, oh yeah, Ronnie used to do those.
That's right.
And so I watched a bunch of them, and on one of the episodes, you talked about one Sesame Street character or another on it, and you mentioned that in your household, you are the Ernie of the house, the overly, almost stomach-sickeningly over-optimistic person.
What? You wouldn't know anything about that behavioral trait in me?
And I was like, oh yeah, and you're definitely the Ernie in this pairing, and I'm definitely the Bert with the pragmatic amount of negativity and pessimism. I'm at the appropriate amount, just like Bert is.
Yeah.
And you're just way too optimistic.
That's so true.
So I don't know if anybody caught on to my little clips that I used on the last episode for the Bert and Ernie stuff, but I'm glad I found it because I ended up using it for 2 reasons. One is I totally remember that sketch of Ernie eating cookies in bed.
Yes.
They must have replayed it numerous times throughout the show's history, because once it started playing, I was like, oh my God, I totally remember this.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the other reason I played it is to, kind of take a jab at their implied or inherent homosexuality.
Yeah.
And Ernie crawling into bed with Bert at the end there. So if nobody caught on to that little gag, I just ruined it for you. Bert and Ernie. We'll talk more about Bert and Ernie, I guess, on this episode, maybe.
Yeah. They're the ultimate pairing. There's a great truth in solid relationships that balance each other. If both people are exactly the same, they might get along for a period of time. That's a difficult scenario. I think Bert and Ernie teach us really early on that you don't have to be exactly like another person in order to become close with them. And in fact, those differences can often make a relationship stronger. So love it.
And as negative as Bert is, he's still a nice guy deep down inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's some Bert and Ernie history for you folks.
Mark is still a nice guy deep down inside. And through my optimism, I'm constantly crying. So,
and constantly annoying me.
That's right.
So our big meetup was for 2 reasons. For one thing, we needed to swap birthday presents finally. You've had mine for a while, or ordered it a while ago.
That's right.
And kept trying to get me to meet with you, and because you're so disgustingly optimistic, I really didn't want to meet up with you.
No one wants to sit across from that person.
Our schedules don't really vibe very well.
Yeah.
And then I had lucked up on something that you had mentioned in a past episode and have mentioned before that you wanted and related to what you talked about last time. And I was kind of rubbing my hands the whole time you were talking about that last episode because I knew what I had.
Yep.
So we swapped gifts. You can tell people what I got you.
Yeah, and I am anxious to do so because this just blew my mind. Number one, I mean, gifts that are surprises are always the best gifts, unless you get a surprise that's like, but it's the surprise of the thought, you know? And so it's always interesting to think like, oh, what would this person be thinking that I would want and that they'd want to surprise me with? Anyways, this was a home run gift right here. And Mark gave me the Count Von Count Fisher-Price little person.
Oh, hello, it is I, the Count. I'm called the Count because I love to count. That, and I inherited my father's royal title.
I absolutely love it. And something to be noted here is that he is in excellent shape. There are close to zero flaws with this. Yeah, close to zero flaws with this. It's beautiful. So thank you, Mark.
As I mentioned to you, the pictures weren't that great on the listing, but it looked better than most that I had seen. I couldn't see any major scuffs or rubs on the face, and that's always kind of the big thing. And everything else looked good, but when it showed up, I was pleasantly surprised that it looked to be in even better shape than I had imagined from the pictures.
I think the only flaws on this, which is really amazing, especially how old this is, the only flaw is that I can tell are like mold flaws, like little lines in the plastic. There's one in the back on his collar that we were talking about, and one that goes slightly across his face. But you would get those flaws even if it was brand new. So it's almost like this is a brand new 1973 Count Von Count. It's beautiful.
And then related to that in a way, you got me the Mayor McCheese, what are they called? Product Pals?
Yeah.
From Dustin Cropsboy, who we've mentioned numerous times on the show.
I'm not a cheeseburger. I'm Mayor McCheese, you know.
It is in the scale and in the style of Fisher-Price Little People, but he is doing old mascots for different products.
Yep.
The first one was a Mayor McCheese, which relates to our interests. And he's great, in good shape as well, even though I dropped him immediately on the asphalt.
We both gasped when that happened, but he survived.
He did. I was surprised. And also one of the extra Oscar the Grouch's reaction figure blind box guys in his garbage can. So I've got that. I've got 3 of those figures now, the 3 that I would have wanted. Yeah, so that was cool. And then we started out on our adventure. What was the first place we hit, Ronnie?
Well, hey, this is a chance for me to say, go watch our video of our journey through this thing that we're going to be talking about today.
I mean, I was going to say that at the end, but whatever. Go ahead. Why don't you just take over hosting this episode?
Do whatever the hell you want, Buster. We stopped off at a book barn, which is otherwise more commonly known as the Book Barn or Clovis Book Barn, but we stopped at the store called A Book Barn in Clovis first.
Confounding. It's confounding to me.
Listen, if you're going to be something, definitely be one of those somethings.
I don't get why it's... and see, I've just now realized that because I actually follow them on Instagram, and I was like, oh, wait. I keep calling it the Clovis Book Barn, and it's A Book Barn. And I'm like, why did they choose A instead of the? Is there a mothership, the Book Barn, somewhere in this country?
Yes. It's called Powell's. It's called Powell's. You've been there. Yeah, so we started there, and whenever I go to the Book Barn, my goal is to first stop by the local authors section. But on this particular trip, I knew I would have to stop by that section and have a look because I just love that stuff. But I wanted to follow Mark's lead because he had mentioned these particular books that he had been collecting, and I was really anxious to see those books. We stopped briefly at the local authors section. We said hello to Derek, the guy who works there that I've known for ages. And then we beelined it over to the sci-fi fantasy section and checked out those books.
That has come up a couple times. I mentioned it, I guess, last episode when we talked about our travels. That was one of the things I got over at the coast, and I beeline it to the sci-fi section. I don't read science fiction. I've read, quite a few Philip K. Dick books over the years. It's sort of like the surf stuff. I have this interest in something, particular things about something, but I have no interest in making a deep dive into the topic. Like, I really have no interest in reading any of the books that I've gotten. It's the aesthetic of the thing. And as I had mentioned, and as you saw, they're very easy to spot. They have a specific 95% of them have the same color spine, and the logo is pretty easy to spot. I'm being vague because I'm going to talk about them at some point in the future. But it's a particular publisher that I don't think exists anymore. They might. Most of the books that I look at are definitely 70s and up to mid 80s. I know I looked at one on that trip that was like 1984. Yeah, there were a ton. Every time I go, there's something to look at. And it seemed like this time there were just tons and tons of them.
I feel like there must be a local collector that just
I don't know,
drops off a bunch of this stuff. Because it seems strange that there would be such a large number of these books.
They were probably pretty prolific, for one thing. So a lot of different people. See, I think the same thing too, like, it's one guy that had all these books, but I'm thinking, well, no, it's probably, all these sci-fi people. This was one of the big publishers like Del Rey.
Yeah.
If you bought science fiction, you ended up with some of these particular books, and then you unload them. So I picked up 2 of those at the book barn, and you got some stuff there too.
We stuck around the sci-fi fantasy sections, and of course, right near them, there was a special section for Star Wars. And then right around the corner, there was a children's section for Star Wars. So I checked out both of those sections. I just happened to get 2 things that I had been thinking about getting for a long time. First one is the Star Wars storybook, the picture book that would coincide with the original Star Wars film, previous to it ever being named A New Hope. Obviously, this book came out the same year the movie came out, and it's just it's like those souvenir books that you get for your kid on their birthday because they love that movie, and it's got a basic short version of the story and then a ton of film stills. It's just beautiful. All the characters that had been cut out from the cantina scene are in these photographs, thank God. And so it's a great document. Really happy that I found that. It's in lousy shape, but for what I think it was only like $4.95.
Yeah.
Not only that, on the back it has the image of Darth Vader from the first film that I had as a little 11 by 17 or 8.5 by 11 poster as a kid. The spine is taped together with Scotch tape, which is something that I love to see because it looks like it was a loved book. Stoked to find that. And then right around the corner near the novels was another Star Wars section. Lo and behold, they had a copy of Alan Dean Foster's Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
That was in the sci-fi section because I was looking at his books that are from the publisher I was talking about.
Yeah. And honestly, I've been wanting to get one of these for a long time, and it was only $3.50.
Yeah, I remember seeing that constantly after the first, like, what is this? That very intriguing cover with Luke and Leia there in front of Vader, and never read it.
I haven't read it either. I'm kind of excited to because it's the sequel that we never got. It was supposed to be a sequel to Star Wars, the original Star Wars film. But instead we got Empire Strikes Back, which I absolutely love. I'm anxious to read this. I know a little bit of what is supposed to happen in this book. I'm anxious to see how some of that stuff plays out. Stoked to have that. I'm definitely going to read a percentage of it. That's all I can commit to. Found those, and that was awesome. I felt like I scored just finding those 2 things. But you found a bunch of, or you found a few, but there were, as we were looking through some of those covers, I kind of wanted to take home all of them. I totally see why you like those books.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting art on them. And most of what we saw this time, or most of what I looked at, was fantasy as opposed to science fiction. And I'm not so interested in figures. I kind of like the ones that have ships or something weird, or creatures or something on them.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show, and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice, and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Our main goal was to hit the antique stores. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
What were you hoping to find?
Well, okay, so there's always something that I'm looking for, and I never find it, and that is the blue Flash Gordon Beastman. Whenever I walk into an antique store, I'm always hoping to find the Flash Gordon blue 1976, I think, blue Beastman. And I never do. So that's always in my mind. Like, I'm always excited to see what cheapo versions of Star Wars figures that I want to bring home. And what I mean by cheapo is well-priced vintage Star Wars figures. Because as we saw on our journey, sometimes those vintage Star Wars figures are way overpriced, so I'm always looking for a good deal with those. That's my answer to that question, because I always go with the same goal. I do have follow-up Blue Beastman information that we will share at a later date.
Okay. You cannot marry a woman without gills. You're from two different worlds.
Well, I was hoping to find. Well, I'm trying to say it.
What were you hoping to find?
I was hoping to find, specifically on this trip, a 12-inch Kenner Bionic Woman action figure for my wife, because she just had her hip replaced and she's got a metal hip. So we joked about it early on when she was planning on this surgery, and she mentioned to me, "Oh, you should get me one of those." Mm-hmm. And so, of course, I've been looking on eBay, but man, too much for not very great quality figures. Yeah. And I want the original in her tracksuit. There were a bunch of versions with gowns and jumpsuits and different clothes, but I want the original tracksuit. So I was hoping beyond hope to see one of those. Saw a $6 Million Man, saw Steve Austin.
Yeah.
But no Jamie Summers. I kind of figured that we would run into some Fisher-Price little people. I was hoping for some Sesame Street figures, which we did not encounter. And then actually I was hoping to see a Bob's Big Boy that I might not already have, and Pillsbury Doughboy, which for some strange reason I want to get for my grandniece.
Oh,
I was looking for one of those and didn't see any. I was surprised. I usually see 2 or 3 Bobs and a couple of Pillsbury Doughboys. Not a one, unless I totally missed them.
We saw one Bob's at the very end.
Yeah, but
of our journey.
That ain't what I'm talking about.
I know. Yeah, you know what? The Fisher-Price Little People thing, too, was in the back of my mind as well, because we've been talking about them quite a bit. Yeah, we found some.
Yeah, and I even mentioned on the last episode that you should start getting some of the regular guys.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. The first place we stopped at, and I don't remember any of the names of any of them, had some interesting items related to the last episode as well.
That's right.
Well, what did you find there, if you remember?
It was a great joy seeing you try on a straw boater.
What'd I say? Monorail. What's it called? Monorail.
As soon as we walked in, we ran into a straw boater that was missing its strap, an incomplete straw boater. But it was your size, and it fit snugly right on top of your head. Looked great.
Weird fit, though. They're way too oval.
They are. It's almost like they're built to set on your head rather than hug it.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's see, the first one. Was that the one with the kittens?
Yeah.
Or was that the second one?
That's where the boater was.
That's where the boater was. What else did we run into?
A top hat.
Oh, yeah. So at the beginning of that store, we saw the boater, and then we walk around the whole store, come around. You know how antique stores are usually like in the shape of a U, like the aisles are like a U shape or a W. One of the last booths we stopped by, they had a top hat there that was definitely authentic.
Yeah, but not my top hat, though.
Not the pop-up kind.
I got to split hairs here because you're like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. And I'm like, no. I was thinking in my head, no, it's not, because it's not silk. It was beaver fur or something.
Yeah. And it was falling apart. And you tried it on.
No, I did not try it on. I have no interest in getting lice, even though I put on that straw boater, but they're not going to live in straw.
No.
I'm not putting shit on my head at an antique store.
Also, they used to bind the beaver fur with mercury, so
yeah,
smart to not put it on.
Having said that, though, my buddy that finds all this stuff for me, Jeff Lamb, again, thank you, Jeff, sent me the other day a post that he came across his feed from Facebook Marketplace of the exact kind of top hat I was talking about. It was, what year did it say? Oh, it didn't say what year. It was a pretty good price, but anyway, silk. So I actually did a quick search after that because it had the name of the maker. And so I did a search for Dobbs top hat. And It came up, the exact same listing came up on Craigslist. And so that's how I knew they have it listed as child's size.
Yep.
Because it says it was custom. It's a custom fit hat. Appears to be child size, silk, and collapsible.
Yep.
So they do exist. The silk top hat, fancy, but collapsible.
Yeah.
The other thing was it was local pickup. They weren't shipping it. And I'm not going to have Jeff go and buy a fucking kid's top hat. I mean, it probably would fit. My head, like I've said, is very small. But I would never ask someone to, go pick up that top hat for me for $60. Ship it out here. I don't want one that badly. If I was a kid, still, that would be a different story. But that is the top hat I always pictured in my head wanting.
I got to jump in here because, folks, Mark sent me a picture of this hat, and it is in beautiful shape. Honestly, for $60, a hat that's genuinely the hat that you want.
The hat that I wanted.
The hat that you wanted. Okay.
Wanted. That's the key here.
If it was your size, though, would it become a challenge for you to say no?
No. If that had been the hat at the antique store, at that price, silk, collapsible, I probably would have gotten it for shits and giggles.
Yeah, there you go.
But other than that, I'm not hunting down the perfect. No, it was a childhood thing.
Yeah.
It's not like a straw boater that you could actually wear out.
Right. Yeah.
I'd look like a fucking idiot if I wore that to Gazebo Gardens or the fig gig or something.
Especially if it was the child size. You said it was small.
So it was sitting on top of my head, a la W.C. Fields or something.
Oh my God, that just tickled me. Yeah. So someday, though, Mark, we will find you that top hat. I ran into a boater at one of those stores that was my size, and I keep thinking about it. But one of these days, we will show up to Gazebo Gardens wearing our adorable hats.
Knowing the name of that manufacturer, though, kind of unlocked a lot. When I looked up Dobbs top hats, it brought up a lot of different listings. That's one of those helpful items that narrows your search.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, we kept on going after that. Other than the Clovis Antique Mall, and I think there was one of the places was called the Fifth Street Antiques or something. I don't really recall any of the names. We hit the Antique Mall is, I think, the place that I always stumble upon things that I don't necessarily buy, but that kind of make me think, oh, maybe I should have picked that up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we saw all the Fisher-Price Little People.
Yeah, there's that one antique store that has the little back corner toy area. The guy who runs that booth, he's got an amazing collection of stuff that he sells there. I've gotten several things from him over the years. We were cruising through the rotating, what are they, watch displays or jewelry displays or whatever they are.
Display, yeah.
And we happened upon a whole row of Fisher-Price Little People. And lo and behold, the characters that we had been talking about, not the Sesame Street characters, but the generic characters were there. And I got a couple of them. I know you did too. They were really well priced too. They were like, what, $3 or something like that?
$2 a piece.
$2 a piece. My God. And we ran into some others in a different antique store, and they were like $6 a piece.
Yeah, they were between $5 and $6. And they were in a little better shape. Yeah, it was the basic. The girl with the yellow bob.
Yeah.
The anger face boy with the ball cap.
Yep.
I got a couple of the cowboys, father and son cowboy set, and the dog. You got the dog.
I got the dog.
The ubiquitous dog that everybody had. I think it came in multiple sets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the dog was everywhere.
They had some of the farm animals, the chicken, the pig, and the sheep, I think. And then other larger Fisher-Price items in a different section, but it was still the same seller.
Yeah.
All in great shape. That helicopter was in great shape. That folding, camping set that I opened up that people can see on the video.
It's like a barbecue camper. It was so cool.
The school bus, the parking structure, which is always fun. Every kid wants a parking structure to play with.
I used to be so fascinated by that.
Yeah, you could roll the cars down if you had any of the vehicles, so that was always fun. I spotted the Sesame Street Sanitation Department little car bus thing.
Yeah, I snagged it from you right away. We were walking down the hallway. I was like, "Wait a minute, did you want this?"
No.
So I just grabbed it from him. I was so excited because now I have a little car that my Bert and Ernie can hang out in. The Sesame Street Sanitation Department vehicle is great, and it was in amazing shape too. I'm looking at it right now. In fact, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
We wandered through a couple other stores. What else did we find? Did we find anything else? Or was that pretty much it?
There was a lot of Power of the Force figures.
a lot of that.
At one of the places. I think it was that same place, the upstairs section. Nothing really all that great this time. Popeye marionette, I remember.
Yeah, that was cool.
Not that it was disappointing, but I'm going back to, things I was hoping to find, like mascot figures, the vinyl, any of them.
Yeah.
I did realize, though, that I totally missed watching the video that same area where the Fisher-Price Little People were in the display cases where he had all the E.T. figures and those little Pac-Man and that shelf of Masters of the Universe. Well, on one of those shelves was a Freaky's magnet, Snorkel Dork, and I didn't even see it when we were there. I saw it in your video, and I was like, damn it, I would have picked that up.
Freaky's is part of a good breakfast, and you get a free Freaky magnet in specially marked boxes.
That's part of the reason why I make these videos. I've discovered over the years, when I made my very first store walkthrough video, I realized the true benefits of documenting stuff like that is that you get to see what's there that you didn't see when you were making the video. So I'm glad you saw that. I need to rewatch it too so I can see that.
Totally missed it. And I was like, oh, crap. Because that stuff is ridiculously priced now on eBay. You used to be able to get those for like $5.
Oh, wow.
The magnets, because they weren't as sought after as the little plastic figures.
Right.
And or the cars or the boats or whatever else they had. But I remember having quite a few of the magnets when I was a kid too. And I would assume, since he was selling those little people for like $2 a piece, probably $5 for that magnet.
Maybe, yeah.
If it was 10, I may have even considered it. I don't know when I'll be back there. I'm not driving all the way over there to get a Freakies magnet, but now I have to remember the next time I do go to look in that case again and see if it's still there.
If I get down there, I'll take a look, see if it's there.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that I saw that other than that, watching your video, I don't think there was anything like, oh, I should have taken that. I probably could have picked up a couple more little people for that cheap of a price.
Yeah.
Brunch or lunch or whatever was more than anything I bought that. It bought 2 books and 2 Fisher-Price Little People, and I think it was about $12.
I spent about the same amount. Yeah, definitely. First of all, it was great that we found such a good deal on those Fisher-Price Little People. And then Book Barn books are priced so fantastically.
Generally, yeah.
We did run across a couple of cases of like vintage stuff that you probably can't handle, antiquarian things that are probably pricey, but I think we did pretty well for what we got and what we spent.
It was a cheap day out. When that happens, I think, well, maybe I should have bought more. But, you know, I'm happy with what I came home with. So that plus the gifts and all that was plenty.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And plus it was fun to hang out with you and make fun of stuff as we were looking at it together. The one thing that I do keep thinking about that maybe I should have got was, guess what? That boater. I do keep thinking about it.
The second one?
The one that fit me.
Because you saw 2.
Yeah, it was the second one, the one with the brown strap, the one that actually had a strap. That
the whole thing was brown, though. The hat was brown. So that was what I had to throw that out there because, like, that top hat wasn't what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I had to throw that out there, like, is brown, because I saw it and I was like, ooh, tan?
Brown?
You know,
that's weird. That doesn't make sense.
Like, you want the kind of bright, almost bright white straw boater.
Yeah.
That's the thing that people think of when they think of a straw boater.
Yeah, or one that is aged.
It might have a patina. But
have a patina. And it kind of looked like it had almost been painted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. I just keep thinking about it because you know how often you run into top hats out in the wild? Like, that's how often you run into boaters. And also, as I mentioned in our last episode, they rarely fit my gigantic Cro-Magnon skull.
Cranium.
I'm supposed
to say cranium.
There
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so we went and ate brunch, I guess, at Sandy's Country Junction.
Oh, yeah.
And then took a trip to TNT Collectibles, which you have showcased on your show a couple times. People can track that down on your YouTube page. And I was kind of exhausted by the time I got
I know, honestly.
Because I'm old.
You and I texted afterward, and it was like, we were both like, nap time. It's totally nap time.
Yeah, well, that was partly the food. But yes, also the walking around for an extended period of time.
Oh, yeah. We're old. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I'll put a link to the video, and you can see some of the stuff we're talking about. And it's shorter. You know, that's always good.
Yeah.
I kind of worry that our shows are too long, but oh well.
No. Our shows are often meandering conversations, which is more fun to listen to than a meandering video that just goes through the store and just... I've watched toy store walkthrough videos that are just like, it's like, you didn't want to edit this at all? I edited, so I shot, I don't know if I told you this, I shot 45 minutes worth of footage that day of you and I walking through the store, and it took me a long time, but I got it down to 20 minutes. And
I was surprised, actually.
Me too.
That brief.
I cut some stuff out, but it took me a long time to figure out that all the important stuff was in. So once I figured that out, then I was happy about it. 45 minutes worth. I could have just posted it as is, but I'm glad that I whittled it down for viewing purposes.
And I do edit these. They're always quite a bit longer when I pull the files, just so people know. I do cut stuff out.
And most of it, folks, is me going and going on tangents.
Oh, I cut my tangents out too. So, well, I think that does it for me as far as what I can remember. I'll post the link to the video. You can watch that as well as a companion piece. We'll be back in a little bit with a new section of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Right after these messages.
Hey, shooter, haven't you forgotten your 9-iron?
I've posited a couple of new ideas that I had been mulling over. So we have the local locales that we don't necessarily do every episode, but that's one of our things. Something that goes along with nostalgia for me and getting those toys or objects is also the treats that I liked as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing that I had been mulling over, because I'm like, at some point I treated those like I treat the toys. I'm like, I'm an adult. I live by myself. I can buy whatever I want to eat.
Right.
I'm going to buy this, or this as a treat.
Yep.
I'll talk about those sometimes. And then the other one.
I have 2 words for you before you move on to the other one. Charleston Chew.
There's all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to go down that road right now, but yeah, that would definitely be a contender.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I have these weird stories, weird memories that might not be memories, those dreameries I talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm calling that personal lore, these weird experiences as a kid that I think about a lot. I don't really share with people. I didn't share with people back then. They just kind of happened. I pitched that to you. And one of the things I mentioned for myself, and I think I knew this when I mentioned it, is that we have this in common. So we're going to share personal lore today that is the same story, basically. And you guys can tell us which is the better dueling personal lore story. So, Ronnie, give us your personal lore for today.
All right. So I think I should preface this by saying there are probably several people out there that live in the Central Valley that have had a similar experience. There's one celebrity that lived in our area up in the foothills, actually, that we both encountered in different ways. This guy, he was most famous for being the Bond villain henchman Jaws. So we're talking about Richard Kiel.
Well, here's to us.
For those of you who have an affinity for cult films or sci-fi television or James Bond, you know Richard Kiel was a giant. He happened to live about 10-minute drive from where I lived for a while when I was in middle school. When I ended up going to the high school up there, I actually went to high school with his kids, which was really cool, and they were very nice kids. But before I went to high school with his kids, in 1990, he worked on a film called The Giant of Thunder Mountain up there. He hired his friends to act in it. He hired a friend to direct it. He basically produced the whole thing, did the location scouting. His daughter's even in the movie, and not as a major role, but like a background character. And it's basically like a feel-good, Disney-esque, Western mythical beast story. Somebody who lives in the mountains who is misunderstood and viewed as kind of like a Bigfoot or a giant. He's a giant, essentially. It's not a great movie, but I've watched clips of it since then, and it must just be the fact that I lived up there. I knew all the locations. It brings back a lot of good memories for me. So they had the film premiere up at the little teeny tiny movie theater in Oakhurst, California. I was 14 years old. It was 1990. I think I'm doing my math right. I went to the premiere. I don't even remember who I went with. That's how focused I was on him. Watched the movie. I must have been with my mom or somebody. I don't know. And then got to meet him and the co-star William Sanderson, who I was already a huge fan of because I had seen Blade Runner with my dad. William Sanderson is the toy maker in Blade Runner.
He's one of those guys that you see in movies and TV shows. And if you watched Bob Newhart, you saw him all the time. But, one of those great character actors that pops up and you just love it.
His character in Blade Runner made the doll that says home again, jiggity jig. Mm-hmm. Our daughters know that because as soon as we get home, I'd say home again, jiggity jig. William Sanderson was there, and I was like totally starstruck by seeing him there. I don't remember if any of the other people were there. That's kind of sad. I think I would have remembered if Cloris Leachman was there because Cloris Leachman narrated the film. And I was already a huge fan of Young Frankenstein at that stage. I'm pretty sure I would have remembered seeing Cloris Leachman. I think Jack Elam was there, but I didn't quite understand his relevance until a little bit later on. I walked up to him, to Richard Kiel, who was not standing. He was sitting, signing autographs. I told him I was a huge fan of his Bond character, which I definitely was at that stage in my life. At that age, I was reading Ian Fleming Bond books, so I was really into that stuff. Ooh, future topic. And shook his hand. It was just the shaking of his hand was epic. My little hand just disappeared in that gigantic hand. He was very nice. Richard Kiel was a very nice guy, very sweet. For those of you who have not watched sci-fi films or TV shows that he's been in or watched the James Bond movies, you probably know him by being the guy in the crowd, the giant in the crowd of Billy Madison. No, not Billy Madison. Happy Gilmore. Always cheering him on and chases down the baddie at the end. That's my story of meeting Richard Kiel, and I treasure that. I treasure that memory. So let's hear yours.
That's pretty good. I think mine's better, but
we'll see what the audience says.
Jaws was big, and I am not a James Bond fan in any way, shape, or form. So when you talk about James Bond, I may be absent from that episode. I tried to watch those movies when they played on network TV, and they bored the fuck out of me. Anyway,
we're going to have to talk about this.
He was like it for me as far as James Bond was concerned. And he's in 2 of the films because he was such a big hit in the first one, The Spy Who Loved Me, that he was in. They brought him back for Moonraker. And so I knew him from that, but I think mainly knew him from The Longest Yard, which is a Burt Reynolds film. He's in prison. It's the convicts against the guards in this football game, and he is one of the convicts, and I just remember loving him in that. He was also in Silver Streak with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
That's right.
That goes along with an episode of Wake Up Heavy I just recorded. Anyway, so I definitely knew who he was at this time. So my story happens in 7th grade, and I'm not sure if it was beginning of the year or the end of the year, but it was one of those two because I know that it was fair weather because I was playing field hockey at school. That was one of the sports that we did for PE. There were 2 sort of main rules that you had to follow for safety purposes. One was you couldn't raise the stick above your waist when you were going back to hit. So you had to keep it below your waist. So you didn't hit somebody in the face behind you or hit the ball so hard. The ball in that game is very hard rubber. So you couldn't lift your stick too high on your backswing. And if someone fell on the ground, play was to stop immediately. Mm-hmm. So we were playing field hockey, and one of the kids that I had grown up with that went to elementary school with was also at this school. So I went to a private school from 7th to 12th grade. So a few of my elementary school friends went to the same school, but it wasn't like your normal trajectory of continuing on with the same people forever and ever. So this dipshit who I didn't like, even before this, we were playing, I fell, and the ball was near me. Instead of stopping like you're supposed to, he kept playing, tried to hit the ball, which was right next to my hand, hit my pinky finger instead, and ripped it wide open. I didn't feel anything at the time, but I looked down. There was a gaping hole just under my fingernail that he hit. We had to walk to our field from the school, like down the street. It wasn't accessible from the school, so I had to take that trip all the way back to the school. Somebody called my dad or my mom. One of them had to come get me. They took me to Valley Children's Hospital. They said, well, you're going to need an orthopedic surgeon to fix this. So they wrapped it in gauze or whatever and sent us off up to an orthopedic surgeon, which was right next to St. Agnes Hospital. There's a bunch of different specialty doctors' offices all around the hospital. We went there, and they ended up putting a little pin through the tip of my pinky down there to fuse the bone back together. Had stitches, had one of those little finger casts over it. At some point, I had to go back and, of course, get that pin removed and have x-rays and see how everything was going. And so I believe this happened on my return trip, not on the day that I was there and they fixed it, although I could be wrong. But I feel like it was the second visit I made to this specialist. And they said, oh, hey, Richard Kiel is coming by. Do you know who he is? And I was like, yes, I do, because of James Bond, because of these other movies. They're like, yeah, he comes quite often because his joints are so bad from his height and his weight of his body and stuff. I think we sat around and waited for a little bit until he came strolling in, and like you, got to shake his hand, and my hand just completely disappeared.
Yeah, incredible.
I was probably 12. I may have been 13 already, depending on what time of the year this took place. So I was just slightly younger than you were at the time. He was very friendly, and I think that's when I discovered that he lived in the area, because I'm like, why is he coming here? I think they even mentioned, he lives up in the foothills or something like that.
Yeah, so that's cool.
That may have been, trying to think if that was my first celebrity encounter. Probably was. Well, other than Butch from Little Rascals that I met on the set of that Al Radke show. But yeah, those were probably the first two.
I think that was my first celebrity meeting as well. It's different to see somebody on a stage or see somebody from a distance than it is to actually get a chance to talk to them briefly and shake their hand. And then shaking Richard Kiel's hand and having your little hand just disappear in there is just a phenomenal experience. I think we're really lucky to have had that chance to meet him. I was very saddened when he passed. I got genuinely affected. And I think it's just because knowing his kids being acquaintances at school and driving by his house every once in a while and going to that movie premiere. And I don't know, it really affected me. And he's left a really interesting mark on cinema and television. He's a very important figure in
He's
film.
in one of the most famous Twilight Zone episodes ever. So
absolutely.
Mr. Chambers, don't get on that ship. The rest of the book, To Serve Man, it's a cookbook.
I'm glad we both got to have that experience, and I hope that the listeners vote correctly.
They should, because mine's better.
I have William Sanderson in mind, okay?
I mean, my pinky is still fucked up because of that.
Oh, that's messed up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You win.
It has not grown.
It's still the same size. I'm sorry. I'm laughing.
A full quarter inch shorter than my other one. So, yeah.
Oh, my God. Have we ever talked about this? How come we've never talked about this?
I don't know.
That goes to show that friends rarely look at each other's hands.
Why you would, but yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of wonderful people from this area we can talk about from time to time. So,
oh yeah, for sure.
Some people that are world famous that you would be surprised.
Yeah,
and he wasn't born here. He was born in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh yeah,
he was a transplant.
Yeah, Central California attracts people sometimes.
Well, he probably did some shooting up and around that area.
That makes sense.
And fell in love with it for whatever reason.
The other gentleman that comes to mind is, oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name.
That's a surprise.
I know. The former stuntman who was the lead in A Straight
Richard
Story.
Farnsworth.
Richard Farnsworth, thank you. Yeah. I never got to see him in the area, but he lived up near where I went to high school. Just knowing that he was out there in the woods somewhere was cool, was good enough for me.
Yeah, that's a bummer of a story.
Yeah.
I love seeing him and stuff. I love seeing him in Misery. I hate it when he gets killed in that.
Oh, it's devastating.
For the same reason I don't like thinking about how he left us. But
yeah,
there's all kinds of folks. I don't want to talk about all of them right now, but there's one guy in particular that I'm thinking of that we'll have to talk about at some point because you probably saw him around town as well.
I think if you're talking about who you're talking about, if I think you're talking about who I think you're talking about,
he's Armenian.
I don't think I've ever told you this. I never saw him in this area, but I saw him when I lived in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Which I was stoked because I was always jealous that you had opportunities to see him here in our home.
Lots of famous Armenian people from here.
Oh, yeah.
World famous.
This is all intended to keep you all tuning in every month for a new episode.
What famous Armenian will we be talking about next time?
Oh, man. Love it.
All righty. Well, let's wrap this bugger up. Well, why don't you take us out with our outro and we'll get the heck out of here and live our lives.
Right. Remember, folks, until we meet again, have fun, stay weird, keep collecting.
And thanks for listening.
Thank you.
I'm called the Count because I love to count.
Cambridge and Rashawn is a Weirding Way Media podcast.
The audio commentary. It's a dying art form, but here at One Track Mind, I, your wonky yet affable host Ryan Luis Rodriguez, analyze film through the prism of these embryonic forms of podcasting, one audio commentary at a time. Masterpieces, crapster pieces, live action, animation, cult classics, films literally no one has ever heard of. No track is too small and no track is too big. Join me and my guests from the entertainment world as we keep these features alive every other Tuesday. Hey, who else is going to discuss Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey one week and Citizen Kane the next? Us, that's who. Sure, you have to put up with my voice, but there's a certain give and take in this industry. That's One Track Mind, part of the Someone's Favorite Productions family and available wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.